Welcome to The Divine Style. I'm your host, Gerlinda, a psychic medium, personal stylist, and self-love coach. Here we dive into the heart of what it means to truly know and love oneself. Today's episode is a little controversial and also incredibly powerful. It's about secret love, the kind that lives in the shadows. This topic is often riddled with shame and judgment. The topic is infidelity, and today we're holding space for the other woman, a role so many women find themselves in, and often it's unexpected. I'm joined by the beautiful and brave Kate London, a coach who supports women navigating the role of the other woman. Kate, welcome, and thank you for the work you do and joining us today on The Divine Style.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to join you today on this topic.
To begin, I'd love it if you could share a little bit of your journey. I know you have a wealth of information out there, but if you could share a little bit about what brought you into this particular space.
When I was 17, I went out for my first job out on a property in outback Queensland, and I was super excited for it. However, very quickly, my relationship with my boss was sexualized. I got into a 7-year secret relationship with him. It was both many highs, super confusing, super painful. I tried to leave many times, and I just felt powerless. And what really trapped me was the shame, was the inability to speak up and ask for help through this. And so it was a secret that I kept a secret for 6 years. I told no one. I truly believe if we didn't have so much shame around the infidelity itself, then we would be able to get the support through it so that we can get back into alignment with ourselves.
I've listened to your story on your YouTube channel and you've got a pretty hefty Instagram as well. When I heard your story, my heart just went out to you because I think as a young girl moving away from your family, you spoke about this being your very first sexual experience, and it was with somebody that was a lot older than you.
Yeah.
I know you've spoken about grooming as well recently, but it doesn't take away from the fact that you had engaged in something that you knew was morally wrong.
Yes.
And hiding it from the people that you were with as well, because obviously he was in a relationship and you were in
Yeah.
contact with his wife, correct?
Yeah.
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 And that would have just put layer upon layer because there must have been times where you wanted to tell her.
Oh, absolutely. When we look at it from say, a secrecy perspective, people immediately think, well, you have no morals. You absolutely should be punished for this. How could you do this? Or how could you go behind someone's back? Or how could you live with yourself walking in the environment of around this family while this is going on? And the reality is there is so much more underneath going on that leaves you powerless or unable to know how to deal with such circumstances. And this is where we really need to have so much compassion for everyone and their experience of what they're going through, no matter what age or experience level. I definitely have spoken a lot on grooming. And then I also haven't spoken a lot on grooming. As I was saying before we started, there was no part of me that wanted my age to then stop other women that were older that really needed support. And there is so much judgment around this. And my deepest desire is just to be able to hold as many people who are going through such a painful and confusing experience.
It is painful and confusing, and trying to seek out help. I know with the work that I do as a psychic medium and self-love coach, I do get women coming to me in this space with nowhere to go, with nowhere to turn. And I think that you being brave enough to share your story and then work with people has just made such a difference in this social stigma, because I think the media and in friendship circles and places like that, you can hear it, because if somebody has been on the receiving end, they're hurt and they're angry
Yeah.
as the other woman. How have you found
It's a really interesting question. For me, the amount of pain that I went through going through this alone, and how much judgment I had towards myself, and how disgusted I was with myself, and how confused I was, and how much guilt and shame and all of these messy emotions I felt, I was just so sure that I could never allow another woman to go through this process alone by herself. because of that desire, I was prepared to walk this path alone. For me to get through the infidelity or the secrecy and be able to actually first tell people around me that what had been going on and open up and no longer hide what I was hiding, I was then prepared that I would just lose everyone. I literally thought I was going to be alone from then on in, that I'd be outcasted from the family that it happened with, his family, and then also my own family. I just was very prepared to just lose everything. I think also in service to the women and helping other people who are, or men and women, but people who are the other women through this situation, I was just prepared to not be looked at with straight eyes, knowing that deep down my vision was in service and coming from a pure place.
How have you found the backlash, if any, since coming out?
In terms of the backlash, when I first began, I got so much hate messages, and I still do. When I first began, it would be I upload a YouTube video and I don't look at YouTube for a week. It was just too painful to look at. And then eventually, I began to see that these people weren't necessarily seeing with clear eyes, or they were seeing through their own heartbreak, which is totally understandable. And if that's the lens that they're seeing through, then that makes full sense. I just was able to meet people where they're at, but also know that the people that I was holding, there was so much more going on that maybe society or outsiders don't necessarily see. And I just had to hold my own on that.
These relationships have been going on for as long as time, right? And I'm not making light of it or saying that it's anyway okay necessarily.
Yeah.
In terms of the emotional roller coaster that women go
Yeah.
through as the other woman, are there similarities? Is there a sort of a pattern?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I definitely deal with a dynamic where there is unhealthiness going on. So there is one that usually takes over responsibility, and that's often the women that they work with that are very shameful, a lot of guilt, take over responsibility. But in that process, they're wanting to do the right thing, but also wanting to do the right thing by him. And so in that, they're really torn. They're going against their values, their standards, and then yet they're not wanting to also hurt him or do the right thing by him, or they're also wanting to hold on. Other is quite neglectful, or there is an integrity abuse there where they don't care so much that there is cheating going on, and then one does really care. Just noticing those dynamics and where we go against our own morals and values and standards, often because there's a level of unsafety, like emotional unsafety. If we do start to honor that will then lose their love, or that will then be rejected or pushed away or dismissed, or all of that. If we do start to really step into our values, our standards, and what we deserve, and also how we want to show up in this world.
There is positive emotions too that come in the dynamic as well, right? Like there's elation and you're feeling in love and
Yeah.
so happy, and this person you think, completes you or makes up so much of that joy or happiness that you might have been looking for.
Yeah, so often in these dynamics, there is such a connection and a closeness when together. And then when apart, there is a lot of heartache. It's like wanting more at the end of the day, only being able to contact another when you're able to, but not necessarily just because you can, because there's that secrecy there. There's this like extreme hunger that suddenly gets fulfilled when you're together, and it's just so extreme and so high and so connected and so amazing. And then when you're apart, is there's an emptiness. And this is something that I do with a lot of the women that I work with. There is healing that needs to be had here, where our compass has been wired to experience inconsistent love, where there's presence but then there's also distance. And what I really want to help women work towards is that safe love is consistent. It's available all the time, not necessarily available because someone has a big work project and they can't talk right now, but their availability is with you.
That's amazing. And I love that you talk about going back to the self and being able to sit with that and know what your values are. Because I think, like you said, we kind of let these things slip in life when we're influenced by the people around us. And it could be not necessarily one person, it could be a group of people that we're influenced by in any which way, even if it's not in an infidelity sense.
Oh, yeah.
With those deep connections, I know that people have come to me sort of asking about soulmates and twin flames from a spiritual perspective. What's your viewpoint around this? I'm so curious.
Yeah, I love that you asked this question. Yeah, I really believe in soulmates or twin flames and past lives and all of these things. So I feel deeply connected. I also, in terms of lingo, will resort to you for that kind of stuff. But one of the things with attaching to the soulmate or twin flame in this situation is what we're needing some understanding around why we have come together and why can't we detach, or are we going to like end up together, or we're trying to get some sort of clarity. And through this soulmate twin flame perspective, it helps us give a level of clarity that we're trying to find. What I really suggest to women is that when we attach to this in this situation, it can often deny us of the treatment that we're either settling for or getting in this relationship. As much as I believe in past lives and twin flames and soulmates, what I really encourage women to do is come back to we're in this present world today and first live from that place of, okay, hold on, what are my standards? What do I really want to invite in this, say, lifetime? And even if we're soulmates or twin flames, is this level of love the standard of love that I want to really invite in? Is this level of commitment the standard of commitment that I really want to invite in? Is this level of availability or treatment the level of availability and treatment that I want to invite in? And then if some of these things are a no, then how can I now set the standard that I really deserve this level of commitment in order for me to want to commit to that, or this level of availability or emotional connection? Like I want depth. I don't want to be questioning or confused. I want to know exactly where you stand and where this relationship is going, and set those standards. And if that means then that you lose that partner or you lose them for some time or there's a break, I was going to say fantastic. I know that's really, I know that's like not what you want to hear, but like it's because you're honoring yourself, and then they can rise to that. And if they don't, then I absolutely believe that you can be connected from a soul level or a past life level, but don't dismiss your primary needs of how you want to be treated in a relationship simply because of a spiritual connection that you have, if that makes sense.
That is spot on, and I love everything that you just said, because it is so important. People do end up in toxic, very, very toxic relationships based on something that they've either read or heard, or they'll put birth dates in and go, oh no, we're meant to be together. And just because something might look from a spiritual perspective that it all matches up, it doesn't mean that it's doing you a service. Often spiritual work is actually painful and requires growth. Sometimes it is amazing and beautiful and perfect and all the love and light stuff. Often there's a darkness to it that we need to work through. And I love that you are going into the depths of the darkness to find the light in there.
If we confront it from that perspective, sometimes it can be really painful. Back to when I kind of said awesome, it's not. It's so painful to be like, oh God, this is not meeting my standards or level of intimacy that I really desire. And I love him, and yet I am still unfulfilled to a degree. And so I need to ultimately cut some ties, or to set this new standard of, well, I need full commitment, not just this half thing that's going on. I just really encourage you to hop into this lifetime and make sure that you first honor those standards. Truly believe in soulmates and twin flames, but don't allow that story to then dismiss the what you're settling for.
Because this is really about relationships more than anything, isn't it? It's about the relationship that you want to be in. Because whether that's a partner that you're committed to and you're currently in and you're both available to one another, if they're not meeting your needs, then there's going to be conversations, isn't it? So it's interesting in that affair dynamic that some women feel that maybe they can't say what they want because they're going to lose this big love of their life.
When you're the other woman, you're the third person in this. And so many women feel that they can't express their needs because essentially they're the third person. It's like, I need more time, but you're with your family and your family is most important and whatever it is. But it's this feeling that I can't ask for what I want or I can't say I deserve better because I'm kind of waiting for him to sort his life out. This like is highly compromising. It fully diminishes your value and what you deserve to experience. Back to the conversation around soulmates is really get clear on how you want to be treated in a relationship and what level of commitment that you want. And this is about me, like focus on yourself, not necessarily on him in this moment. Just focus on the level of commitment that you want, the level of availability that you want, the level of, say, integrity, transparency, honesty, trust, all of that you want and want to feel, and then communicate that fully. Because you're operating in a place of secrecy, there will have to be some sort of often break for a time. If you really want this relationship to work, then I really invite you to not just wait and hold on for that relationship to work, but instead set the tone of what you need in a relationship and then step back and then wait and see if he is willing to meet you there. Waiting and holding on is just going to cause many years to pass without any progress.
And some of these relationships do go on for years. You would obviously have a wealth of knowledge and understanding around that space.
I've definitely heard it all in terms of time. There are affair relationships that are one night stand kind of things, which I don't necessarily deal with. I deal with more the longer term affairs that have been going on for some time and there's no real resolution or forward momentum or where is this going. There is 20, 30, 40-year more affair relationships, lifelong relationships. The question that I want to ask you or the listeners is, when we're in this situation, although the connection, the bond can be so incredible or your friendship can be so strong, there is a level of unfulfillment in the fact that this has to be a secret. I truly believe that there can be something that you like there in terms of, oh, well, it's actually convenient, this less commitment and stuff like that. But I really feel that we can reach whatever your needs are in an open space, in a pure space, in a way that we don't have to hide. And this is going to leave you in more alignment with yourself, as opposed to, oh no, I like, for the people that do somewhat think, oh, well, I'm not sure if I want a full commitment anyway. I fully believe that you can get those needs met, not in a secrecy place, and you'll be way more fulfilled.
A lot of people want it to work out. So when I get people coming to me, they're sort of, what they're looking for is for me to say, yes, this is your soulmate. This is the person you're meant to be with. All this pain, heartbreak, everything that you've been through is worth it. And I feel like there's two parts to this story, or there's probably three really, isn't there? So one is that you end up together and that's great. The other one is that you don't end up together, or the other one is you end up together and then you end up breaking up anyway. How have you seen this play out for your clients? Because I just know that people really want it to work.
Yeah, if I'm super honest, often in these dynamics, there's a level of attaching through trauma, so trauma bonding or insecure attachments like the anxious avoidant dance. And what I really encourage first in healing is to first clean up a lot of these things, because if we're making a decision based from fear of losing them or fear that we'll never get anything better, or that one that I just mentioned there is one of the biggest ones. And so then we will settle in a dynamic that is less from what you really deserve to invite in, because it is still amazing and yet it's not ticking all the boxes. I think this is where I was really, say, successful in my business is in feeling safe for a lot of people is there is so much fear around losing this person. And I think we really need to speak to that, because if we just say, oh, leave him, you deserve better, or leave him, he's married, go get someone that's not, it really dismisses the fact of how much you feel for this person. And the difficult thing in this situation is we really need to be able to express all of that, and for all of those parts of ourselves to be heard, to then to be able to heal through it. What I have heard from a lot of my clients is they've gone into therapy and their therapist will highlight all the things that are wrong and then will like essentially say you need to leave him, but the part of them that has had needs fulfilled is just yearning to be seen, to be expressed, to be validated. And I don't think that we can truly heal until every part of us has been seen, validated. This experience needs to be seen for the beauty that you've also experienced in it. And also, we can't deny the fact that there is a level of pain that you're also experiencing that needs to be addressed. And sometimes when we address some of this pain, eventually, we do figure out that there is misalignment in terms of, let's just say, for the most simple one, the fact that he's married is out of alignment with what you really need. And so then there we need to look at, okay, well, then what are we going to do about that? And that often does lead women down a journey of really stepping into what they deserve in a relationship. And I will say often that takes them away from the person that they are with.
Yeah.
As painful as that is to hear, it is always coming from their choice of deep down what they know is in alignment with them stepping into all of their needs getting met.
Because it's really coming back to self-love, which is perfect because that's all the work that I do. It just all comes
Yeah.
back to self and self-love and what you value and what you want. And having that supportive group and network around you, though, to make that leap to step away is amazing because so many women have to do this alone. They're losing the connection because they haven't shared this with anybody else either. So having those groups and those networks where you can openly connect and someone like yourself can be so beneficial.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. We really need community and support and connection and to be seen in order to for us to have the strength to move through these things. This is where I truly believe, like talking to even yourself, you're so beautiful and compassionate on situations like this, and have like a deep level of compassion and understanding for these experiences.
Thank you. I really feel like with whatever anyone's going through, it's really not my place to judge. And I genuinely feel like in any relationship dynamic that it's important that we understand what's going on for the person. And I love that you've highlighted so many important aspects in terms of attachment styles and looking at the underlying trauma and what leads people into this space. What do you feel like are the steps for healing?
One of the first steps to healing, I feel, is absolutely making sure that you have someone to talk to, or whether it be like a best friend who fully understands you and doesn't come from any ounce of judgment. In terms of judgment, I really want you to tune into the body language of people. You might be unconsciously connecting to the body language of people, but I really want you to consciously connect to how this person is receiving you, because people can say like everyone goes through challenges, or it's okay, everyone goes through challenges, and yet their body could be stiff while hearing what you're going through, and you open up because they seem like they're just compassionate, and yet they weren't coming with full open arms of compassion. And so then you leave feeling sick to your stomach around just feeling shame, often feeling shame, and then confused because the experience of that person was still understanding. And so I would really be attuned to who do I feel like when I speak to, I feel lighter after having spoken to them. That 100% we need to have people. I think one of the things that keeps us stuck is the fact that we're just holding this on our own.
There is risk and vulnerability. And so choosing the right people around you. And I love what you said, like the people that you walk away feeling lighter. Because obviously, if you're in this dynamic, there could be some choice of relationships that aren't going so great anyway, right? Like, because it bleeds into other parts of your life.
Exactly. And one of the biggest like wounds here is the wound on betrayal. And I know you're like, well, I'm the one in this situation, so I'm participating in betrayal. But no, I would often say that a lot of the women that I work with are also being betrayed. We haven't necessarily been always held with the utmost care, respect, integrity, and safety that we really deserve. And so yeah, as you were saying, sometimes the people that we pick to be in intimate partnership with, or even our closest friends, aren't necessarily, they love and care for us deeply. But if you're on this path of healing, sometimes, as much as they love and care for you deeply, they could have, say, patterns of not holding you with the highest care and integrity and confidentiality that is going to feel really safe. And so be hyper picky on that. In my healing journey, I noticed that I didn't necessarily have the level of emotional maturity in my relationships that I wanted. For a time, I invested so much money into getting daily support, then 3 times a week support from a therapist. And my view on this was, okay, I've just upgraded my level of friend that is now extremely attuned to me. At the end of working with this person over, say, years, I then have that level of expectation of that's how I want to be treated in my relationships moving forward. And so I truly also recommend that investments is helping you step up to that higher level of being treated with more emotional availability and attunement than that you deserve.
Very true. And there is no shame in paying for assistance in this regard. What are some other healing steps?
Looking at over responsibility and under responsibility, one of the things that we do if we're over feeling guilty and blame ourselves or shame ourselves for this is we are dismissing maybe what is going on around us and then taking it all on as our own. If you are someone that really is prone to, say, people pleasing or the anxious attachment style or overgiving, or you're feeling deeply shameful or guilty or responsible or quite self-punishing, if this is your pattern, then I really highly encourage to, for some time, put that pattern beside yourself and be like, okay, for some time, I'm actually going to invite others to also step up. I'm going to say, this is exactly what I need, and this is how I want to be treated, and this is what I want in a relationship, and I'm not going to settle for something less. And so I ask you to rise to that. This can feel uncomfortable because we feel that there's no, hold on, I don't deserve that. I deserve to be more punished for what I'm doing. And this is where you then lower yourself. So look at that dance between responsibility. Often in a partnership, there is one that may have more of a tendency to take on heaps of responsibility or blame or like self-punish or look at themselves or go small. And then the other person might have a tendency to really hold their own and to know, no, I deserve better. And so look at that dance and try to more even out that dynamic. When you do even it out, often there's conflict in the relationship, but you don't want to live a life where you're compromised or muted or made small. And so I invite you to step into that level of conflict.
I love that. Yeah, like be the goddess. I've said to people before that no one could be meaner to me than I was
Yeah.
to myself. Like I said the most hideous, awful things to punish myself. I remember even being mad at myself around the fact that I was mean to myself. Like, and it's just self-perpetuating, isn't it? When we feel shame, then we feel shame that we feel shame, and we get ourselves in these loops. So being able to talk with somebody, know what's our responsibility and what's not our responsibility, and be able to pull ourselves up into the version that we want to be is beautiful.
Absolutely, because otherwise, if we say talk to ourselves in these ways, we then invite other people to talk to ourselves in those ways or to walk over us. And that's what's happening is if we're the other woman in a relationship with a married man, he's getting some needs fulfilled somewhere, and then he's getting other needs fulfilled elsewhere without actually really looking at, okay, hold on a second, I can't split myself between two people. That's dishonoring also to the people that I'm in relationship with, especially going about it in a secret way. Just tune into how we then treat ourselves and how we invite others to then treat us with the same level of care or respect or devotion, lack of devotion. You may feel like your affair partner is extremely devoted to you, but tune into what devotion looks like in terms of your heart might be aching at the end of the day, and a person that is fully devoted may not be necessarily all roses and make it look good and sweep you off your feet kind of thing. They might be just fully showing up all the time and devoted. And so really tune into what devotion actually really looks like and feels like.
Yeah, and I guess this all then comes back to self-devotion, right? If we're not looking outside ourselves to get it, we start to give it back to ourselves.
Exactly.
Honestly, this has been an amazingly rich conversation, and I still think it's very juicy and controversial. But I love it because I think it needs to be, we need to break down these stigmas and make sure that everybody knows we're all just people going through a journey, whatever your journey is, and we can support each other in this.
If you are going through a secret, and I want to say secret, not just say infidelity, but if you're listening and you're hiding stuff or have hidden a secret that you've held on for a long time, your greatest freedom lies there. Like it lies in you being able to dismiss the shame that secret is holding, the darkness, like the fact that you're holding this in the darkness. If we can just let it into the light, whatever it is that you're holding and it feels too painful to confront, I really invite you to have the courage and just act on it.
Thank you for shining a light in the dark for these women that need just as much love and compassion as everybody else so we can remove the shame. How can people connect with you and find out more?
I have a whole heap of blogs on my website, and my website's katelondon.com.au. I also have an Instagram account, which is where I'm most creative. So it's just like lots of random things that really speak from my heart. So I highly recommend joining me on there. I'm not always active, but when I am, it always comes just from my own creativity and from my heart. And then I have a YouTube. Oh, so my Instagram is katelondon01. And then my YouTube is also the same, Kate London 01. And that's where there's more longer videos supporting people through infidelity when, yeah, you're really stuck, don't know what to do, feeling so like he's everything. And yet it's also painful. And so that's where I answer a lot of those questions.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I'm going to make sure I put all of your contact links in the show notes for people. You have been an absolute delight, and I'm so grateful for this conversation. Thank you.
Oh, it's been such a pleasure to connect with you. You really have such a warm, beautiful, welcoming energy. And yeah, I really appreciate us just talking on such a sensitive topic in such an open and honest and non-judgmental way.
Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of The Divine Style. If you'd like to know more, please visit gerlinda.com.au, or for some free resources, head to gerlindastella.com.